Dear all the CA members, thank you for joining us with the live meeting of the web meeting. You are all of us aware that the transport sector is gearing up for the non-pollutant vehicles, which is powered by lithium-ion batteries. See, this is the clean power energy produced by the lithium-ion battery. So the power sector is gearing up for this clean energy. We need more batteries in the coming year. Lithium is one of the main ingredients used in the battery. This lithium-ion battery has a major advantage of extended lifetime, high energy density, improved safety, and reduced cost. And has a high efficiency of charging and discharging. It comes with a lightweight. To produce lithium electrodes, lot of specialty chemicals like lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, or lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum oxide, lithium titanate, etc. That means a lot of opportunities are available for manufacturing specialty chemicals used in the lithium ion battery. Today's topic is investment opportunities in specialty chemicals and components used in the lithium ion battery. This program is presented by our senior member, Mr. N.S. Venkatraman, a renowned chemical engineer and the director of Nandini Consultancy Center, who has a vast experience in this field, and is supported by Mr. Swaminathan Venkatraman, who is also an engineer with MBA and has an experience in outside India, and they will share their thoughts and the study on this subject. This will definitely helpful for all the members. Sri V.T. Murthy, who is a chairman of ICC Southern Region and was with a long time with the Tanfac Industries, will introduce the speaker to this gathering. Today's program is sponsored by Ultramarine and Pigments Limited. Now I am giving this to Sri V.T. Murthy. Sir,
thank you
over to Sri V.T. Murthy.
so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. On behalf of ICC Southern Region, MIA, and all other associations, I would welcome all the members who are assembled here to hear Mr. Venkatraman on a very important topic on electric vehicles and then the lithium battery used in it. So as you have been told already, electric vehicle is going to be the reality in the next 6 years. So electric vehicles, the main component is the battery. And the battery is the one battery contains of cathode and then the anode and then the various other chemicals used in it. So basically there are our interest in that battery is about the lithium chemicals. There are many manufacturers in India who are going to come up. So far, there is nobody here, and mostly dominated by China because lithium they have the lithium resource, and basically they have owning lithium mines as lithium carbonate or any other form. So China is going to dominate, of course. The other countries are there, but there is work going on in replacing lithium. So that is also a parallel. Many other scientific institutions are working on non-lithium batteries, and including recently, Japanese have developed a model based on hydrogen generation. Just you put water into the vehicle and it will produce hydrogen, and you can run for 100 kilometers. Probably that technology also is coming up. But again, lithium cell which we are using in the batteries. So that also poses a lot of environmental risk right now. Problem. So there have been many ideas or concepts of recycling it, but so far none has come up in India. Of course, in other countries, there are units who recycle such lithium batteries. So in India, in fact, our interest personally, I would say, as I have been in charge of TANFAC earlier, and then TANFAC, as you know, produces hydrofluoric acid. So our interest would be in the fluorine chemicals, like lithium hexafluoride. We are to listen to Mr. Venkatraman because, in fact, I had even talked to him earlier whether he can identify a party who has got the technology for lithium hexafluoride and who is also interested in investment in India. We'll be very happy to partner with them. TANFAC and that company can work together. In Kadalur and in Tamil Nadu, we can set up a large-scale plant to manufacture these chemicals. This is going to be the reality, but I think we have to work on it. So I've been asked to introduce Mr. Venkatraman. I don't think Mr. Venkatraman needs any introduction. I know Mr. for the last 30 to 35 years since he started this Nandini consultancy about 30 years back, mainly to cater needs of chemical industries in terms of various sourcing various technologies, preparing feasibility reports, and identifying the supply-demand gap market, etc. I mean, he has been doing a great service the last 30 years, and I think he has worked out almost about 1,000 assignments. I was told that so far he has done. So he's a very experienced person. His specialization has been on technology analysis because he has got so much of data on that. Feasibility, basically, that feasibility study, whatever he produces or prints out as a booklet or as a software, practical because he has taken into account, it takes into account all the various costs involved into it. Nandini has carried out knowledge-based assignments, and even in TANFAC also we have taken his help. And Mr. Venkatraman and Swaminathan have contributed a lot of technical papers on various subjects in very leading prestigious journals. He is very highly respected in the government circle for his knowledge, and he has been represented in the industry as well as companies in discussing various government policy issues. In the case of CSR, he has got his own trust, public trust, where he takes care of the poor, so that he supplies knowledge to the industry, and with whatever income, he keeps a separate part of it for serving the poor. Very humble profession. His son, Swaminathan, is a chemical engineer from BITS Pilani and MBA from IIM Ahmedabad. He has worked in various capacities in European companies, especially on supply chain management. He is based out of Singapore, and he has excellent contact with various Chinese companies. And he is a very reliable source to source technology from China. I think with this introduction, may I now request Mr. Venkatraman to take over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy. Before Mr. Swaminathan starts giving his talk, I will briefly explain as to what is the objective of this webinar and what is the methodology that we are going to adopt and what is the... Thank you, Mr. Murthy, for your introduction. Before Mr. Swaminathan takes over and talk on the subject, I will briefly explain what is the objective of this webinar, what is the methodology we are going to adopt in discussing the various aspects of this, and what is the recommendation that we should evolve at the concluding session of this webinar. Now, in India, government of India has firmly committed itself to the concept of promoting electric vehicles in a big way for the two objectives. One is to promote environmental benefits. The other one is to reduce the import dependence on crude oil and natural gas. While electric vehicles are now being produced and steadily being increased right now, the most important component of the electric vehicle is the lithium-ion battery. Unfortunately, lithium-ion battery is not produced in India today. And lithium-ion batteries that consist of two parts. One is the lithium-ion cell and lithium-ion battery. We produce lithium-ion package in India, the battery package in India, but not lithium-ion cell. And now, with the electric vehicle production steadily increasing, lithium-ion battery demand increasing, India needs to step up this production of the lithium-ion battery and cell. And with the production of the lithium-ion cell, there are enormous number of chemicals that are being used in the lithium-ion battery cell, which provides excellent investment opportunity in India. Unfortunately, none of these lithium-ion cells or chemicals that are required in lithium-ion cells are being produced in India today. So this is the issue. So this gives both a challenge and opportunities. That is what we are going to discuss today. We have shortlisted 10 products, which are specialty chemicals and components used in lithium-ion cell. And we are going to discuss about the demand-supply scenario for these particular products. Because it involves a lot of data that we are going to present, we go a bit slowly, and so that take you along with us to the extent possible. Now I request Mr. Swaminathan to take over. Mr. Swaminathan of Singapore will talk about the global scenario, particularly relating to electric vehicles, lithium-ion battery, and with particular reference to the Chinese scenario. Mr. Swaminathan.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatraman, and thank you, Mr. Murthy, for the introduction. So I will share a presentation, and I will go through the contents of the presentation with you shortly. Yeah. So the focus of my talk, maybe for the next 20-25 minutes, will be around the EV and the lithium-ion batteries market. Just to give a global perspective of the evolution of the market for both EV as well as lithium-ion. And with that introduction, Mr. Venkatraman will take over and talk a little bit in detail about the Indian scenario and in detail about the lithium-ion battery market in India and the chemistry and the products and the chemicals as well. So I will discuss the following. We will start with understanding the evolution of the EV market for the last 10 years or so, and how the market is going to look in the coming years. The government policies that are in place in various countries in the world supporting electric vehicle technology. And with a little bit focus on China, because China is today the largest market for electric vehicles in the world, almost dominating to the extent of about 50% of the global market. So what is happening in China is of interest to all of us around the world. And lithium-ion battery market itself, how it is looking today and what the projections are for the next coming 10 years. Why are we talking about EV? We are talking about electric vehicles because even today, the transport sector is responsible for nearly 1/4 of the global CO2 emissions. So if we are going to tackle CO2 emissions in the world, and which everybody is committed to, all the countries are committed to, we need a strategy, a technological strategy to do that, and electrification is identified as a key technological strategy. The advantages of EV is that basically there are zero tailpipe emissions compared to your gasoline cars or gasoline vehicles. They even have better energy efficiency than internal combustion engines. And when it is combined with low carbon electricity sectors such as renewables to produce the batteries, then there is a very large potential for greenhouse gas emissions. So EV has attracted global attention for the last decade or so and has evolved significantly in even the last 5 years. Here, we see the evolution of the total sales of EV vehicles around the world. So here, what we see is that particularly, this doesn't include the 2 and 3-wheeler sectors because we will deal with that separately. But totally, the global electric car sales surpassed the 2 million mark in 2019. But still, the market share of electric cars as a percentage of total vehicles sold is about 2.6%. So there is a long way to go, and the penetration is only barely begun. China is the world's largest electric car market with about 50% of the global sales, and Europe is the second largest with about 25%, and US is about 20%. So basically, the EV market in the world is dominated by China, European Union, and United States, and rest of the world make barely about 5% or so of the global market. Of the electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles make almost about 3/4 of the worldwide sales, and a quarter of it is made up of what is called plug-in hybrids. Plug-in hybrids are both gasoline engines as well as electric battery. The electric battery is used as the primary source of power, and the gasoline engine is used as a backup. And this is about a quarter of the world's sales, and this is declining. And the battery electric vehicles are gaining steadily market share to push the plug-in hybrids out of the market in the foreseeable. And based on the stated policies of governments, and every government today almost has a stated policy on electric vehicle, and they have detailed policies and in fact programs to promote electric vehicles. There is a consensus forecast that EVs are likely to account for about 28 to 30% of all new vehicle sales worldwide by about 2030. If you look at the evolution of the global electric car stock, there were only about 17,000 electric cars in 2010. And today there is a stock of about 7.2 million electric cars as of the end of 2019. In 2020, of course, we had because of COVID pandemic, the car sales had a crushing decline in the first half of the year. They have come back in the second half, and we will know by in a short while as to where the sales have been this year. But electric vehicles have held steady even in 2020. Most of the decline eventually has been for the gasoline cars. But in the last 5 years, especially, the average annual increase in electric vehicle sales has been about 60% per annum. So there has been a significant upturn in electric vehicles, particularly in the last 5 years. And global stock remains concentrated in China, Europe, and US, as I mentioned. And as of end of 2019, at least 20 countries in the world have reached a penetration of about 1% of electric vehicles in their own domestic market. So of the 7.2 million electric cars running on road at the end of 2019, 3.4 million are in China, about 1.7 million in Europe, and about 1.5 million in the US. If we look at the projections that are being made by international organizations like IEA, based on the stated national EV policies that exist today, with all the incentives and subsidies and various push that governments are giving to both the market as well as the manufacturers, it is projected that the electric light duty vehicle stock is projected to increase from 7.2 million vehicles in 2019 to almost 50 million by 2025, which will represent about 3% of the total stock worldwide, and about 135 million by 2030, which will be about 8% of the stock worldwide. So even by 2030, it will only be about 8%. So there is still a long way to go for the electric vehicles to completely displace and even occupy a significant share of the vehicles running on road, even by 2030. And the sales of electric LDVs is projected to increase from 2.2 million in 2020 to about 25 million in 2030. That's almost a 10-fold increase, and which will represent about 17% of sales of all vehicles around the world by 2030. If you look at electric buses, Electric buses are a very good candidate for electrification because it is very easy to have an electrification infrastructure for buses. You don't need public electrification areas. It can be done at depots of buses and so on, and they run usually within cities, and it's very easy to do. But there is still a lot of push that needs to be given because still this market is dominated by China. There is a total worldwide stock of electric buses of about 500,000 in 2019, and about 95% of the electric buses today that are running are made and sold in China, and 95%, 98% of the global fleet is in China. So other than China, around the world, there has not been much push given to electric buses, and although European Union and US are beginning to give a lot of incentives to manufacturers like Daimler-Benz, which are big makers of buses, but the penetration has broadly been in China as of today. And of the buses that are running today, the battery electric has about 95% market share globally, and rest of the technologies like fuel cell or plug-in hybrids are only about 5%. If you look at electric 2 and 3 wheelers, the largest fleet of electric vehicles around the world is today the electric 2 and 3 wheelers. These are the easiest candidates to electrify because of the short distances that 2 wheelers and 3 wheelers cover, the small battery size that are required, the ease of charging, as well as the low energy requirement per kilometer means that it's much easier to electrify 2 and 3 wheelers compared to passenger vehicles. But the biggest market for electric 2 wheelers and 3 wheelers is concentrated in China, India, and the ASEAN countries, because this is where there is maximum use of 2 and 3 wheelers. There is less than 2 and 3 wheelers used in Europe and US. The annual production of electric 2 wheelers in China as of 2019 was 36 million units, compared to about 120,000 units in India. And in India, particularly, it's a very good candidate for electrification because 20% of CO2 emissions and 30% of particulate emissions in India are caused by motorized 2 wheelers. So it's extremely important that there is sufficient incentive to electrify 2 and 3 wheelers in the coming years. So China has the largest 3 wheeler stock in the world as well, with more than 50 million electric 3 wheelers. India is about 1.5 million. The fleet of electric 2 and 3 wheelers is projected to increase from 300 million, which is there in end of 2019, to about 400 million globally, or about 40% of the entire 2 and 3 wheeler stock. And the sales is projected to reach about 45 million units in 2030. If you look at electric trucks, these are the most difficult candidates to electrify because of the size of the batteries that are required, and the battery energy density has not evolved to a state where the weight and volume of the battery can be easily accommodated in an electric truck. So as a consequence, there are only about 6,000 heavy-duty electric trucks sold in China as of 2019, which are battery powered, and they only account for about 0.1% of all heavy-duty trucks on road. Here, battery vehicles compete with fuel cell powered electric trucks, and there is a lot of fuel cell developments that are happening, which are coming in the next few years, particularly driven by Japan and China, to compete with battery for heavy-duty electric trucks. However, there are still some developments happening where because the modules required in electric trucks are much higher than what are required in passenger cars. They range from 700 to 300 kilowatt hour, whereas for passenger cars usually they're about 50 to 70 kilowatt hour for medium freight trucks, and 200 kilowatt hour to 1 megawatt hour trucks for heavyweight trucks. So there is a problem of low energy density of batteries today, and even the bigger problem right now is the long charging times and availability of charging points for electric trucks. So there is a lot of work to be done on ultra high power charging standards. China is taking the lead. China Electricity Council, as well as several industry bodies in China, are working jointly on the next generation ultra high power charging standards for very large batteries powering the electric trucks. But right now they are still at a nascent stage, and there is a long way to go in this segment. if you look at the forces driving demand trends of vehicles in the last few years, particularly electric vehicles, there is an overall contraction of passenger car market itself around the world. This is not particularly related to electric car. This is related to total passenger car market. For example, in 2019 in China, the total passenger car sales dropped by 8%. In India, it dropped by 13%. In US, it dropped by 2%. In Europe, it was flat. So there is a broad contraction in the total passenger car sales in the last couple of years. And 2020, of course, we had the COVID pandemic. So the passenger car sales didn't expand as well. So there is a stagnation in the overall passenger car market around the world. And however, the electric cars are holding their own in terms of the volume of sales. And I think the bigger impact is being seen in the gasoline cars. The second important development from the demand side is the cut in purchase subsidies. There is the first 10 years or so of development of EVs was supported by heavy government subsidies for EV purchases. But there is a general common understanding around the world that these subsidies cannot keep on going as the volume of the car goes up. And at a certain point in time, the EV car market has to sustain itself on its own. In fact, China cut subsidies for electric car purchases by half in 2019. But however, because of the COVID pandemic in 2020, and the passenger car market tanked in the first half of the year, they announced that they will reinstate the subsidies and continue till 2022 in order to stabilize the market. However, the general trend is that the subsidies are going down in terms of what different governments are able to support. United States had a phase-out schedule for federal tax credit for automakers until they reach the sales of 200,000 units per year. Tesla and GM reached that in 2019 itself. In fact, this year, just yesterday, Tesla announced that they have reached the vehicle sales of 500,000 for 2000, which was the long-term goal. And hitting 500,000 market is seen as a major milestone for Tesla. So they are no longer eligible for federal tax credits. And now there are various other subsidies that are there from provinces and state governments, but the federal tax credits are phased out. The other major implication from the impact on the demand side is the consumer expectation of future technology. Because technology is evolving so rapidly, there is an expectation on battery costs, there is an expectation on technological progress and fast charging, because charging infrastructure is one of the key bottlenecks in various markets on adoption of EV technology. Worldwide, there are about 250 models available in 2019. The available models are becoming much more widespread across various passenger car segments, and they are certainly becoming much better than what they were in 2018 and 2017. Battery costs have also decreased rapidly. We will see a little bit in detail later on. And this has made battery costs are also quite competitive compared to what they were many, many years ago. And there is a lot of focus being placed by companies on technology progress and fast charging with increase in the size of the batteries and the requirement for having much greater range. Then typically they have about 150 to 200 kilometer range on a single charge. And there is a requirement to increase the range to much more than that. And there are even some technologies that are coming up revolving around solid state, which probably can go up to 500 kilometers. So this is something that consumers are watching very closely, which determines the decision on which cars and which segments they're likely to buy. To give you a sample of a few major countries on the kind of goals that they have adopted for adoption of EV technology. There is a global campaign called EV 30 at 30. India is also one of the signatories to that. Basically, the EV 30 at 30 campaign sets a collective aspirational goal to reach 30% sales share of EVs across different segments: passenger light duty vehicles, light commercial vehicles, buses and trucks by 2030. Several countries are signatories to that, like China, Japan, United Kingdom. India is also a signatory. So all these countries that are signatories are evolving policies in order to support that. And in specific, for example, China has a target of 25% of new energy vehicle sales. This not only includes battery, but also includes fuel cell vehicles by 2025. This is a stated target. In the case of Japan, they have a stated target to reach 30 to 40% hybrid electric vehicles, 20 to 30% battery electric and plug-in hybrid, and 3% fuel cell by 2030. And they would like to phase out 100% of gasoline vehicles and introduce 100% sales of electric vehicles by 2050. United States, here several states like California have adopted much stringent standards than the federal government itself, and about 11 states which are more which have taken much more stricter measures and incentives to promote EVs have stated that they would like to have 3.3 million zero emission vehicles by 2030, and all passenger vehicle sales to be zero emission vehicles by 2050. Similarly, in Germany also, they would like to have all passenger vehicle sales to be zero emission by 2050, and they're targeting about 7 to 10 million battery electric vehicles and fuel cell by 2030. In the United Kingdom, which is also a signatory to EV 30 at 30, they have a slightly more aggressive target where they are looking at no sales of any gasoline internal combustion engine vehicle by 2035, which is probably one of the most aggressive targets that any country has around the world. In India, we have Government of India has a policy, FAME, where they have a couple of iterations. There is a FAME 2 policy which came in 2019, where the EV deployment goal is through electrification of 2 and 3 wheelers, where we are expecting to have a market share of about 50% by 2030, and the rate of electrification of buses and light duty vehicles at about 15% of overall sales in about 2030. So we have a long way to go to achieve it, and but this is the stated goal from the Government of India as of FAME 2 policy. Let's look at a little bit more detail in terms of how a lot of nudge and push is given by Chinese government. We're looking at China in particular because China is probably the most advanced government policies around electric vehicles, and they have been tweaking their policies for several years now, and have reached a pretty high level of sophistication in targeting both the demand side as well as the manufacturers and as well as the charging infrastructure. So let's look at some of the key elements of the policies, and there is a lot for many governments to learn from what China has done. In 2018, China introduced a credit policy for all major vehicle suppliers to boost domestic sales of EV. So what they call NEV, which is new energy vehicle, which is not just EV but also includes fuel cell vehicles. So every model in China today has a credit. So as you can see in the chart, battery electric vehicles have a credit for a point from 1 to 5. Plug-in hybrids have a credit of 2. Fuel cell electric vehicles have a credit of 1.1 to 5. The number of credits that the government assigns to every vehicle depends on metrics such as electric driving range, efficiency, density, rated power, etc. So they would like to promote more and more energy efficient vehicles, vehicles with higher driving range, higher density, and so on. And automakers are expected to reach new energy vehicle credit targets of 14%, 16%, and 18% in 2021, 22, and 23. What this means is that if they have a weighted credit across all their vehicle sales of, let's say, 2%, about 2, which is a weighted average of all their different models that they would sell. In 2021, they need to sell 7% of their overall vehicles as electric vehicles in order to reach their target of 14%. So every manufacturer is mandated to reach these targets, and hence they are under incentive and a bit of pressure to meet their technical requirements as well. There is also a subsidy program. They started the subsidy program in 2016 and update every year. And as I mentioned before, the subsidies were expected to expire at the end of 2020, and it has been extended to 2022. But they expect the vehicle manufacturers to rely on themselves without explicit subsidies from the government. They also have a fuel economy standard where for gasoline vehicles, they've set a standard in 2020 that from all vehicle fleet from 2025 onwards, they need to have a standard of 100 kilometers per 4 liter. That's about 25 kilometers per liter. So that's a standard that manufacturers of gasoline vehicles have to adhere to. They also have a standard on EV efficiency, which is a voluntary target on energy consumption based on different weight classes of vehicles. They have a very extensive policy on infrastructure, on charging infrastructure. It's too much to go into detail here, but many local governments have announced subsidies for charging. Shenzhen is a very large car market in China, and they are proposing to provide up to $60 per kilowatt hour in subsidy for DC charging facilities, about $30 for AC charging facilities, and so on. So they are very sophisticated subsidy program for charging facilities to promote both the private as well as public charging facilities in order to promote the infrastructure around EVs. And finally, apart from the central government, there are also plenty of policies announced by local governments. There are more than 29 provinces and cities in China have announced non-subsidy based EV promotion. So the largest car markets in China are Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. And they have non-subsidy based policies which are based around factors such as car plate restrictions, access to car plates. In China, they have every city has different policies around how many cars can be gasoline cars, how many cars can be electric cars. There are lottery systems in many cities where you have to apply for a car plate with a lottery. And there are different promotion programs in different cities based on whether it's a battery electric vehicle or a gasoline vehicle. And there are several restrictions based on whether it's a gasoline or a battery electric vehicle in different cities. There are circulation restrictions. For example, in Beijing, they have circulation restrictions for certain license plates in certain areas of the city. So the battery vehicles are exempt from those restrictions in order to promote people buying them. There are waivers from traffic restrictions for battery vehicles. For example, in Beijing, there are restrictions only, waivers only for battery electric vehicles, but restrictions for others. So these are several non-subsidy based EV promotion policies in China, in different provinces, where each province has the license to tweak their policies based on the goals that have been assigned to the provinces from the central government. So you can see that there is a combination of nudge and push from and subsidies from governments at various levels, both to manufacturers as well as consumers, to effect a complete shift from gasoline vehicles to EV vehicles. If you look at the announcements from OEMs, because they are also responding very rapidly, because the consumer demand is picking up, and the large manufacturers are scrambling to provide the models for different segments of the market. Year on year, between 2018 and 2019, there was a 26% increase in the number of electric vehicles that are available globally. There are about 279 models that are available, out of which China has the largest number of models at 171. So China has more than 50% of all the global models available. And over the next 5 years, OEMs have announced plans to release about close to 200 new EV models. And the battery and electric vehicle models are now evenly distributed across vehicle sizes. Previously, only the small car and the medium car were more attractive for EV, and the SUVs and the large cars did not have so many models for consumers to choose from. But the models that are being announced, because of the developments in the battery technology as well, are allowing OEMs to make much more evenly distributed vehicle sizes, EV models across different vehicle sizes, and that should promote the use of EVs across all the vehicle sizes. If you look at several announcements by specific manufacturers related to EVs, BMW says that it's targeting 15 to 20% of group sales as battery electric vehicles by 2025, and they're going to introduce 13 new models by 2023. Chongqing Changan, which is one of the 4 largest OEMs in China, have announced that they are going to introduce about 25 new models by 2025. Daimler has announced about 10 models by 2022, and more than 50% of their sales will be plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles by 2030, and so on. So basically, every OEM has announced various targets for what they would like to achieve. In India, Maruti has announced that they would like to have a new EV model in 2021 and up to 1.5 million electric car sales by 2030. Mahindra and Mahindra has announced that they are going to introduce 3 new electric EV models by 2022. Of course, with outbreak of COVID-19, there is a lot of turbulence in the industry because of sales issues, and many balance sheets have had quite a bit of stress. And so we have to see to what extent they remain committed to their targets, because this is all going to require a lot of investment. Let's come to the lithium-ion battery demand. If you look at lithium-ion battery demand, at about 2018, the overall total lithium-ion battery demand was about 184 gigawatt hour. Lithium-ion, of course, is used in multiple applications, electric mobility, energy storage, as well as consumer electronics. But of the different usages, as you can see, electric mobility is about 90% of the global demand for lithium-ion. And the electric mobility segment is expected to grow at a CAGR of about 26% for the next decade. So almost 14 times growth in demand for electric lithium-ion batteries by 2030. So there is a substantial level of capacity that needs to be introduced globally from now on for the next 10 years. If you look at geographical split, in 2030, China is projected to have almost 30 to 40% of the global lithium-ion battery demand, followed by European Union and US. And China's demand is likely to exceed both European Union and US combined. So China is going to be the most significant market for lithium-ion batteries for the coming decade and for a considerable amount of time. And China is also today the biggest player in the lithium-ion battery market. It has about 50% of the global EV battery manufacturing capacity and 50% of production. CATL is a Chinese company, is the largest producer of lithium-ion batteries in the world. So China is highly dominant and expected to maintain their dominance for the coming decade or so. The most interesting aspect of lithium-ion battery is the evolution of price, which is what has made them very, very competitive. If you look at compared to 2010, the cost of lithium-ion batteries has dropped nearly tenfold. In 2010, the lithium-ion battery was about $1,200 per kilowatt hour, and it has come to as low as $156 per kilowatt hour in 2019. The momentum remains because of continuing innovation in the battery chemistry, and the mixture of metals that are being used are also changing, and there is an incremental innovation that has pushed the cost of lithium-ion batteries down considerably. It is estimated that electric vehicles will reach cost parity with fossil fuel-powered vehicles at about $100 per kilowatt hour. So today's price is not very far from the break-even price. And the forecast is for battery cost to fall under $100 per kilowatt hour by about 2024, which is about 4 years from now, and to even go much lower and hit about $60 per kilowatt hour by 2030. So the battery powered vehicles are likely to be much more cost competitive compared to fossil fuel powered vehicles. And the subsidies that they require may no longer be required, and they will be competitive on their own. For the first time, in fact, in certain segments in China, particularly in e-buses, the battery pack prices of less than $100 per kilowatt hour have been reported. So the evolution of the lithium-ion battery prices is rapid, and we are fast approaching a stage where the lithium-ion battery prices are going to be really competitive with gasoline vehicles and can compete on their own. So with that, I conclude my segment, and I hand over to Mr. Venkatraman so that he can take up the lithium-ion battery the chemistry and the market a bit more in detail.
Thank you, Mr. Swaminathan. Now I will take over from you. Basically, Swaminathan has given extensive, very impressive details about the global developments and policies, particularly with relating to Chinese scenario, as far as the lithium-ion battery and electric vehicles are concerned. The information given by Swaminathan clearly shows the world is now committed to electric vehicles, and there is no going back. Obviously, when the world is committed to electric vehicles, it obviously means the world is committed to lithium-ion batteries. And when the world is committed to lithium-ion battery, obviously means that the chemicals which go into the production of lithium-ion batteries are going to have enormous significance and importance. and the production and demand for these products are going to go up very substantially to significant level. Here, India has got a great opportunity to fulfill the dreams of government of India for the domestic production, boosting domestic production in a variety of ways. Now, let us look at this scenario. The slides now. Okay. I would like to give you a holistic picture of the lithium-ion battery in India, because I'm going to discuss about a number of investment opportunities, and we'll be able to appreciate these investment opportunities, the technology associated, and a variety of other related factors. Only we get a holistic idea of the lithium-ion battery configuration. Since this program is being attended by a cross-section of people from a variety of fields such as researchers, battery manufacturers, organizations looking for new opportunities, and as well as the students and the staff, we need to provide a broad overview of the picture so that we take everybody along with us. Now, first I will say what is about the lithium-ion battery configuration. As you know, lithium-ion consists of lithium-ion cell, lithium-ion module, and battery pack. Lithium-ion cells have 4 components. One is cathode, other is the anode, other is the electrolyte, other is the separator. In all these 4 components, there are a number of chemicals that are being used, which gives us enormous investment opportunities. Now, once the lithium-ion cell is made, the cells are connected in series or parallel to make lithium-ion modules. Once these modules are made, the modules are connected, multiple modules are connected along with the sensors and controllers to make medium battery pack and finally battery. So there are 3 components that are involved right now in this whole picture. Now, let us look into the status of the Indian lithium-ion battery sector. This is very interesting. In India, we produce lithium-ion battery back by a number of people. The battery pack means they don't make lithium-ion battery assets fully, totally. They make only pack in the sense they import lithium-ion cell and then assemble it together to make it as a lithium-ion pack and finally make it available for the people. It is done at various energy density levels. This means India is presently importing entire requirement of lithium-ion battery cell. Not a single cell is being produced at a commercial level right now. It is a very disturbing situation. On the one hand, we are thinking of boosting the electric vehicle in a big way, and the electric vehicle requires lithium-ion battery. Lithium-ion battery requires lithium-ion battery cell. We are not producing any lithium-ion battery cell. This certainly is a very disturbing situation, making people wonder whether the government is putting the cart before the horse. Without the basic inputs, without the foundation, or you building the electric vehicle is one question uppermost in the mind of the people. They cannot be blamed for this kind of a view at this stage. Now, further, not only India is not producing lithium-ion cell adequately, the specialty chemicals and components required for lithium-ion cell are all not being produced. That means even if India succeeds in producing lithium-ion cell in a big way, we will still find an unenviable situation where the chemicals required for making lithium-ion battery are not available in cell or not available in India. Now, this can be viewed as a challenge or it can be viewed as an opportunity. That all depends on how we are going to take, how industries are going to take, our consumers are going to take. Now, the criticism against the government policy of boosting lithium-ion electric vehicles without creating capacity for lithium-ion cell is not justified, because we have to start somewhere. The question is whether you start from the top, namely electric vehicles, or you start from the bottom, namely specialty chemicals. This could be a matter of debate. The government has started with the lithium-ion electric vehicles as the prime target right now. And obviously, this means that several downfall products are bound to come in the course of time. So let us look at it in a very positive way. Now look at the lithium-ion battery sector today, the amount of lithium-ion battery being imported. Lithium-ion batteries are being imported for a variety of purposes, for 2-wheelers, for 3-wheelers, for electronic products, for telecommunication products, variety of ways. Now, according to the reply given to Parliament by the Government of India, in 2019-20, from January to November, India has imported 6,500 crores of rupees worth of lithium-ion battery. It's a huge figure. Not only is it a huge figure, given the fact that electric vehicles are being produced, but lithium-ion battery is not produced, and given the target of the government of India, come on, the import figures of lithium-ion battery is going to go to an alarming level. This is something unacceptable situation. It will be a huge drain on the economy of the foreign exchange reserves of this country. Now there is one question. The question is, now you are promoting electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries are not being promoted. What is the government doing? Government is certainly urging people to build capacity for lithium-ion battery. Now some people are trying to do it. There are a number of companies which have announced they are going to make lithium-ion battery cell. The number of companies which have announced they are going to make lithium-ion battery pack. There is no shortage of announcement in India. But the ground reality is, number of companies who have made significant progress in setting up lithium-ion cells and lithium-ion battery is thoroughly not enough, considering the target set by the government of India. Some agencies in the government of India said that the entire India should be of electric vehicle by 2030. One cannot but think that is a utopian expectation. Nobody in the industry believes that India will be having 100% electric vehicle by 2030 or even by 2035. This is a consensus view in this country. Nobody agrees with the government's target of such a huge, towards India become 100% electric vehicles. But still, electric vehicles will be there, and conventional engines will be, internal combustion engine will also be there. Both are likely to coexist together in the course of time, with electric vehicles significantly increasing over a period of time. Now look at the people, look at the companies which are planning to go for lithium-ion battery. And look at the research efforts that have been implemented in India or initiated in India for lithium-ion battery cell. Now, Exide Industries have announced that they would set a lithium-ion battery project in joint sector in Gujarat. That's one. Number two, there is a company called Monoth Industries in Andhra Pradesh. They said they will put up a facility in 3 phases with total capacity of 1.25 gigawatt hour. That's the number two. Number three, BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electrical, they signed an overseas agreement, and they said they will go for a 1 gigawatt hour capacity. Now, these are the 3 major announcements that have been made, which makes some give a feeling that they may come. Now, there are a lot of other companies like Tata Chemicals and all who have all announced. There is no indication that there is an advanced stage of even planning. Probably they're all exploring right now. So the effort so far made in building capacity for lithium-ion battery is far less than what is required, not only given by the government of India, even fraction of the target of the government of India cannot be met by these efforts so far in lithium-ion battery. Then what about the research? Then there's another company called Pure Energy in Hyderabad. This is incubated by IIT Hyderabad. They have also made an announcement. They will start building cells. Now, what is the research efforts? ISR, Central Electrochemical Research Institute, claims it has done some significant work, and they have also set up a pilot facility to produce 100 cells a day. It's a very small capacity, but it's still a bench scale or a slightly glorified bench scale capacity. It is not a commercial plant. This has to be taken up from here to set up a commercial plant by setting up a large capacity. So this can be said as a basic research efforts. The ISRO has claimed that it has developed 4 capacity for lithium cell, only 1.5 ampere hour, 5 ampere hour, 50 ampere hour, 100 ampere hour. These are also very small sizes. And both these organizations, Central Electrochemical Research Institute, as well as ISRO, have offered to provide the technology to other organizations. Some organizations are keenly interested and looking into this possibility. But the fact is, these are not commercially developed technologies. They are technologies developed at a small scale or a bench scale or glorified bench scale, which have been further developed. Plant designs have to be carried out, layout have been carried out, variety of issues involved in that. Still, there's a start. As far as I can see, leaving alone all the other claims that have been made by various organizations, these are the only things that have happened as far as the lithium-ion battery in India that makes some sort of a hope or some sort of a progress that you can indicate. Now, these efforts are not enough at all. All of you would agree. Now, let us look into the potential demand for lithium-ion battery by 2024-25. Though the government of India has said that entire country will be of electric vehicles, which, as I said before, nobody believes. Still, automobile production in India two-wheelers, three-wheelers, commercial vehicles, passenger cars are bound to go up significantly in the course of time at a steady growth rate. Though this year they have taken a beating because of the COVID-19, obviously time will pass away. This certainly that a better time will come. Given the fact that the number of electric vehicles that will be plying on the road by 2024-25, given the estimate, and given the estimated figure of level of penetration that electric vehicles can take in this automobile production by 2024-25, and considering the fact what is the capacity of the battery required for varieties of different types. For example, passenger car require 40 kilowatt hour electric battery. Looking into all this, we estimate that by 2024-25, even considering a highly conservative penetration of the electric vehicle in the overall automobile production, Indian demand for lithium-ion battery cell could be around 27.175 gigawatt hour. Now compare this figure with the global demand by 2024-25 of 468 gigawatt hour. That means India's share is going to be, even consuming that this is going to be achieved, is going to be less than 4%. Given the population of the country, given the size of the country, you will see that India's share is going to be abysmally low. In other words, India is still a very small player in the international market. We have a lot of catching up to do. Now I will go to the next step, just briefly explain what is LIB cell configuration and functions. I necessarily have to say this because my next minute talk about the specialty chemicals are totally related to that. I need to give you a holistic view, holistic idea of the lithium-ion battery, what is the role played by different things in the lithium-ion battery. As you know, lithium-ion battery consists of 4 parts. One is the cathode, one is the anode, one is the electrolyte, fourth is the separator. These are the 4 essential heart of the lithium-ion cell. Now in the cathode, there are a lot of components go into the cathode that to make the cathode. Number one, objective of this product is the cathode and anode and the electrolyte determine the basic performance of lithium-ion battery. By changing the configuration or the composition of the cathode, changing the composition of this anode, or even changing the composition of electrolyte, the significant performance level of the lithium-ion battery cell will be significantly varying. So this is what I call as a very 3 important components of the lithium-ion battery. In all this, cathode, anode, electrolyte, specialty chemicals have a very big role to play, which we are going to discuss subsequently. Now, apart from this, there's one thing called separator, which is made of polyethylene and polypropylene, which are plentifully available in India right now. The objective of this separator is to prevent direct contact between the anode and cathode and allow the ions to travel from cathode to anode through a microporic pores in a regulated way. These are the basic components. You need to keep these basic components in view because subsequent section, we are going to talk about the specialty chemicals which are used in the production of this cathode, anode, electrolyte, and separator. Now, let us take the cathode. In the case of the cathode, there are 5 important parts to make the cathode electrodes. One is what we call as the cathode active. The cathode addicts are called as lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese oxide, lithium, nickel, cobalt, aluminum oxide, lithium, cobalt oxide. So many other things are there. They are all chemicals where they provide an opportunity for us. Second is the carbon black, which is produced in India. Then there's one polyuridine fluoride, which is as a binder, which is being produced in India by one company. Other things are all being produced in India. This is number 1. Now, look at these cathode actives and how they are doing. See, what is happening is the cathode essentially determines the density of this lithium-ion battery totally. It depends the efficiency of the lithium-ion battery, shelf life of the lithium-ion battery, life cycle of the lithium-ion battery, variety of factors. So the cathode material used for the production of cathodes are highly important, necessary, they have a specific role to play. Now, there are so many cathodes, which are shortlisted few. That's what I said as lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, and others. They are used in the electric vehicles. They are used in the mobile phones. They are used in the electronic portable products and variety of other areas they are using. In different application areas for the lithium-ion cell, different requirements are there. For example, in the case of some, they don't mind charging takes a little more time. There are some places where they may say that charging is required very quickly. Sometimes they may say high density is not required for certain application. So depending on the particular applications, cathode and electrode producers use the different cathode actives. That's what it has been given here. Now, basis for the choice of cathode active. I said cathode active, number of materials go like lithium, lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese, oxide. How do the people decide? There are several properties that are incorporated by the individual cathode actives. One is you choose the particular active depending on charging and discharging rate required for the electric battery and lithium battery, for the lifespan desired, for the thermal stability desired, for the specific energy required, and of course, finally, cost factors. So some of the actives are very expensive. So those expensive may not be meeting the requirement of certain type of consumers. So these are the 5 factors that essentially determine type of actives that we are going to use. Now, this is as far as the cathode is concerned. Now we come to the anode. Anode consists of several parts. One is called graphite, in which there are two divisions. One is synthetic graphite, other is natural graphite. Then tin and silicon oxide and lithium titanium dioxide, which is called LTO. Now, these basic inputs, what I given so far, these actives and cathode, actives and the anodes, actives and all that. Apart from this, these chemicals which we are going to make, they all have 4 essential inputs. One is lithium itself, second is the nickel itself, third is the cobalt itself, 4 manganese itself. Now, without this lithium or without this nickel or without this cobalt or without this manganese or without this graphite, you can't build any specialty chemicals that are required for this. These are basic inputs. Now, India has a big disadvantage as far as this is concerned. In the case of lithium, there is no production of lithium in India today. How are you going to build a cell when you don't have a lithium? It's a big question. So lithium, there is no production in India, and 190,000 tons of production is being made around the world by a variety of meeting the requirement of all over the world, which is always given in terms of lithium carbonate equivalent. Then nickel, not a kilogram of nickel is produced in India today, just lithium. So 2.3 million tons of nickel is produced across the world. Then cobalt, not a kilogram of cobalt is produced in India today. And globally, around 124,000 tons of cobalt is being produced. And then manganese, fortunately, we have got manganese available resources. Then in the case of synthetic graphite, there are 2 companies which are producing synthetic graphite. One is called HEG Limited, other is called Graphite India. Both of them make graphite for other applications, not for be used as a lithium ion anode. They are not doing it. There's one company in Bangalore called Epsilon who has started producing the synthetic graphite from coal tar, who claims that they can make anode meeting the requirement of the lithium-ion battery, and they say they have a capacity of 2,000 tons per annum. And they're not sending anything in India because there's no demand in India right now. So nobody is producing lithium-ion cell. So they are completely exporting. So you find a situation here. Out of the basics, 3 products, lithium, nickel, cobalt, are not produced in India. The type of graphite required for lithium-ion battery cell is also not procured in India. So the basic inputs are not available here in India. The question is, are we making a building without a foundation? It's a matter of concern. There must be some strategy for tackle this, and let's discuss about this further. Now we'll take about the nickel scenario. See, nickel all over the world, primary nickel production is around 2.3 million tons per annum. Now it is available in nature as ore. That is nickel ore, which is not available in India. It's also produced a byproduct of copper refining of the copper. That's what 2 things are there. Now for lithium-ion battery, your nickel purity has been higher 99% or more than that. If the purity is going to be less, you cannot use it now. It is been useless as the purity is less now. So of the global deposits of the nickel ore, only 45% of the ore is good enough for the production of being used in the lithium-ion battery, because the purity level is much lower there. Refining is also going to be very, very expensive. So given this factor, now where are we? One is India does not have any production. Worldwide, there is a demand. Now, there are only few countries which produce the nickel in a big way: Russia, China, South Africa, Canada, and Brazil. India is not one of them. So the question is, there is going to be a worldwide shortage of nickel. How are you going to face this now when you are going to build it? It's one issue that you have to keep in mind. Then we go to the India's efforts for nickel. What is the point in saying I don't have anything? You must make some efforts. The Hindustan Copper has said, which is the government of India company, has said that from the waste generated during the copper refining, they have been able to recover the primary nickel. But this is again a claim. They said they have perfect technology. It's a very preliminary stage. We are nowhere reaching a commercial level. Even if you are going to reach the commercial level, given the type of copper refining capacity in India, it is not going to make a significant impact. So this is as far as the nickel is concerned. Now we go to the next, cobalt. The cobalt is again, problem with the cobalt is, of the total production of cobalt in the world, 56% of the production of cobalt is in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, which is generally considered as a potentially politically unstable country. So other countries also have, but they are much smaller quantity than Congo. Here, China has struck a deal. Typically, what they have done is they have gone to Congo, acquired some mines, and also there's a company in Congo called Glencore, which produces 22% of the cobalt production in Congo. China has an agreement with them. That means they are committed to supply to China. So they bring ore from China and purify it in China and use it. The net result is Congo being the largest producer in the world, China having a big presence in Congo, China has a stranglehold over the these cobalt scenario in the world market. This is something frightening. Because lithium battery, everybody is promoting, as Swaminathan said, the whole world is putting a target for electric vehicles, but there is an important constituent, this cobalt. China is having a stranglehold. How are we going to overcome them? Don't worry, there's a way. We are going to discuss further. Now we take the lithium scenario. First we talked about nickel, then we talked about cobalt. Now we are talking about lithium. All these three, India is not producing. I have given you the global picture. And in the case of lithium scenario, now there are two ways of producing lithium. One is from the brine deposits, that's a salt brine. Other is from the lithium ore. And then it is also available, it's largely available, 70% of the global lithium production is produced from salt brines. In countries like Chile and all, Chile, Australia, China and all have this production of lithium. Chile is the largest producer of brines. India does not have the brine. Now, here, of the total production of the lithium, with 70% coming from these brine deposits, and total global production being 190,000 tons, a number of lithium producing countries in the world being 8, and around 85% of the global production being confined to Chile, Australia, and China. Where do we stand? Now we have no place here. So there must be a way out. Now, what is the government of India's policy on this? The government of India has now struck a deal with Bolivia, where lithium deposits are available, and the government of India trying to leverage its way into the lithium reserves of Bolivia and exploration and extraction of lithium to bring it to India. Now, this appears to be in a very preliminary stage. There is no reliable information available from public domain or the government sources, and how much things have been moved on, how much this collaboration has really started yielding results. Nobody knows. Then the government of India further has said, constituted a team consisting of National Aluminium Company, NALCO, Hindustan Copper Limited, the government of India, another undertaking, Mineral Exploration Corporation Limited, another government of India taking, all have been formed into a team and have been asked or mandated to find out some way in which India's requirement of nickel, cobalt, and lithium can be sourced from abroad. Again, there is no information. Further, after constituting the committee, whether Niti Aayog has given the approval for this or whether any ground has been done, there is no information. So the net result of this situation today is, the case of lithium, the case of nickel, in the case of cobalt, India has no production. India is committed to electric vehicles. India has to produce lithium-ion battery. India has to produce lithium-ion cell. We don't have the material. So what is the way out? The way out is only one. Like, we have to copy the pattern of China. What China has done, it has gone to Congo, get hold of this cobalt mines. It has gone to Chile, signed several agreements with Chile companies to produce lithium. Further, China has large deposits of lithium in Tibet, which is an aggressively occupied country by China. They got large deposits of lithium. China is not allowing anybody to get into Tibet now, so nobody really knows how much deposit is there, but it's very well acknowledged. The lithium deposit in Tibet region in China is very high. Now, given this scenario, the only one way for India is go and collaborate with some companies abroad where they have got deposits or where there are solutions, form joint venture companies, produce the material there and bring it back to India. That's the only way its option is there, and nothing much has moved as far as this is concerned today. So today, in case you want to produce lithium-ion cell in a big way, you have to import nickel, cobalt, and lithium. And this is an issue that the government of India has to tackle, which the industries cannot tackle. Government of India has to go into it. Industries, of course, they can search for the overseas collaborators, seek the opportunity to put up joint ventures abroad, and bring it to India. Even that, no initiative has so far been seen in an obvious manner, and I don't think anything worthwhile has been seen, because we are studying the details in a micro level. Nothing worthwhile has happened so far as this concern. That's one issue. Now, we are discussing 10 investment opportunities in this section. One is lithium carbonate, which is a feedstock for cathode lithium hydroxide, lithium manganese cobalt oxide, lithium nickel manganese oxide, lithium iron phosphate, polyvinylidene difluoride, high purity natural graphite, lithium titanate, lithium hexafluorophosphate separator. I'm reading out these 10 just to stress on the fact there are enormous investment opportunities in the field. There's so many products that can be made, and all these are required. And further to say that none of them are produced in India. So it's ideal opportunity for Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme to succeed. Government of India has to pay huge attention to this. Industries have to pay huge attention to this. I am not sure many industries have paid any significant attention to produce these products, or at least develop technologies products, or at least preliminarily examine the feasibility of producing the project. I am not sure anybody has done. Even the companies which are planning to produce lithium-ion cell, I don't know what is their plan. Possibly they think they will import these specialty chemicals without any plans for producing these specialty chemicals in a way. That means if you are going to import these specialty chemicals in a big way, what is going to happen is, instead of being unproduced lithium-ion battery out of it, what is going to happen is, instead of being an import-dependent lithium-ion battery, you are going to become import-dependent specialty chemical. That is precisely the situation we should avoid. And all these chemicals are well within the capability or possibility of production in India, as you would see in the further sections. Now let us take one, lithium carbonate. See, lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide is the essential feed point for all the 10 products that I have given below, because lithium content comes here. Now, lithium carbonate, how do you produce? Lithium carbonate is produced from the salt brines, which is not available in India, it's available in places like Chile, and reacted with sodium carbonate to produce lithium carbonate. There is no big game in the technology, it's very simple. Once you have the lithium brines available, sodium carbonate is produced adequately in India, you can combine it and produce it. Now, what is going to be the global demand? In the global demand, the lithium-ion battery, 70% of the, see, this is the essential inputs, 70% of the lithium-ion battery is produced from lithium carbonate, and 30% of the lithium-ion battery is produced from lithium hydroxide. Both are essential inputs. Companies make a choice, either use lithium-ion battery or lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide, depending on the particular technology they have developed or accessibility or whatever it is. Now, given the fact that Indian demand for lithium-ion battery by 2024-25 is going to be somewhere at 27 gigawatt hour, the demand for the lithium carbonate in India is going to be as high as 15,200 ton per annum. 15200. It's a big figure. At least 4 or 5 plants can be put up with a capacity of 300 tons. And this 15,200 is not all by itself, because India is going to produce bigger way the electric vehicles. Consequently, Indian production and demand for lithium-ion battery has to substantially increase. Consequently, lithium-ion production cell demand has to be completely increased. Production has to be completely increased. So this will be only a fraction of the potential demand. Maybe by 2030 or 2035, even if part of the Indian expectation with regard to lithium-ion cell production and battery production should be met, the demand for this would be as high as 35,000 or 40,000 tons per annum. We can't be sleeping. We have to start working on it now. Look at the China, what they have done. They are all planning 15 years ahead, 10 years ahead, doing it. That's why reason for their phenomenal success. In spite of all our problems with China, we have to derive the right lessons from them. So the 15,200 tons, this is something, a product which we should have to start working from tomorrow. Next product coming to lithium hydroxide. As I said, the worldwide lithium inputs, 70% of the lithium hydroxide is being used by lithium-ion battery, and 30% is used by the carbonate is used by the lithium-ion battery. In the case of lithium hydroxide, I said that from the lithium brine salts, you react with sodium carbonate to produce lithium carbonate. Now here, you take lithium carbonate, react with calcium hydroxide and produce lithium carbonate. Calcium hydroxide is available in plenty in the country. Given the fact that Indian demand is going to be 27 gigawatt hour by 2024-25 for lithium-ion battery cell, and given the consumption norm, Indian demand is going to be 4,500 tons by 2024-25. And perhaps by 2035, the demand should be somewhere around 25-30,000 tons per annum if we are going to make significant progress with regard to production creation of capacity for lithium-ion cell. Now we go to the cathode actives. Now, I have said, first, I just, for the sake of recap, first I talked about the nickel, I talked about the cobalt, I talked about the lithium, I talked about the graphite, basic 4 inputs. Problems there I introduced. Then I said, next thing is lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, which is the input for making various cathode actives. Earlier, when discussing about the cathode, I said one of the essential part of the cathode electrode is the cathode actives. I also said there are a number of different types of cathode actives like lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese oxide, lithium, nickel, aluminum, cobalt oxide, lithium, cobalt oxide, lithium, manganese oxide, and all that. Now we are going to take one by one. First cathode active, we are taking the lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, NMC. Of course, it's not being produced in India, as you know. Now here, the total world demand for various actives in lithium-ion battery, 70% of the lithium-ion battery producers use only lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, NMC. So demand for this NMC is going to go up internationally, significantly in tune with the growth of the lithium-ion cell production, which is going to be significant, substantial, as indicated by Swaminathan already. Now, given this fact, use pattern, now what is the raw material required? One is nickel sulfate, we don't have. Manganese sulfate, we have. Cobalt sulfate, we don't have. Lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, we don't have. So such an important product like lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, which is used by 70% of the world lithium battery producers, India has only one manganese sulfate available. Now, what could be the demand? Demand by 2024-25 in India, considering 27 gigawatt hour is going to be the requirement of the lithium-ion cell, the requirement for the NMC, lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, is going to be as high as 33,290 tons. Big figure. And this 33,290 tons will certainly become 80,000 or 90,000 by 2030 or 35. A significant progress we are going to make in the production of the lithium-ion cell. Look how important it is. Look how we miss opportunities, glorious opportunities that are awaiting, we are missing. We are keeping a blind eye. This is what is very, very sad to know this now. Indian industries must have certainly moved on all these products, particularly when we are talking about electric vehicles. I'm not sure whether anything significant has been done so far. Now, next product we go is lithium iron phosphate. See, lithium iron phosphate is also active. This compared to this lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, which I said holds 70% of the global requirement. This lithium iron phosphate is a competitor for that. And lithium iron phosphate, again, the 70% for the NMC, whole world consumes 18% of the lithium-ion battery producers in the world use lithium iron phosphate. 2 reasons. One is its price is very low compared to NMC. But in the case of the energy density of NMC, lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese oxide, is higher than the lithium iron phosphate. But there are certain particular applications where lithium iron phosphate is preferred. Now, look at the raw materials. Ferrous sulfate heptahydrate, India have in plenty, there's no problem. Phosphoric acid, India have got enough capacity. Lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, only this product is missing. Why not we make it here? There are a lot of people who come and ask, give me a product which I got a lot of ferrous sulfate, I have a disposal problem. Give me a product I can make use of ferrous sulfate to produce a value-added product. I recommend them, go for lithium iron phosphate. With huge potential. I don't think anybody is thinking on this today as far as I know. Now, next product will go, lithium, nickel, manganese oxide. It's called LNM. It's a very recently developed product. As I told you, the cobalt supply scenario in the world is suspect, and China is having a stranglehold on cobalt, and therefore the world has to get rid of this use of cobalt in the lithium-ion battery cathode to the extent possible. This is what people are planning. So here so they have developed some cathode active which does not have cobalt at all. And nickel is also in short supply because, as I told you, in the global production deposits of nickel, only 45% of the nickel is good enough to be used for the cathode anode because it requires very high purity of 99.5%. So this product has been developed by Halder Topsoe. who claims the price is lower because I'm not using cobalt, because my use of nickel is much less than what we use in other places. And this efficiency of this material, this cathode, is as on par with the NMC and the LFP and other products. Should we not seize the opportunity? Should we not go and take this and go discuss with the Albert top floor, anybody else who has been working on it? Why are we not doing this? This is a question that you have to be probed very deeply by all researchers in this country, all in entrepreneurs in this country. Now, next product we go is polyvinyl difluoride, PVDF. It's a binder for cathode. As I told you, how is cathode electrode produced? Cathode actives are mixed with the binders and additives to make the electrodes with different kind of pore size. Now here, the PVDF is a binder that holds everything together. Now there is one company in India who is producing it, PVDF, that is called Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited. They have got a capacity of 1,400 tons per annum. There's a lot of other applications apart from this. I am not sure whether Gujarat Fluorochemicals has sold this polyvinyl fluoride to any consumer for use as a binder for the cathode. They can't do it in India. They would necessarily export. I'm not very sure whether this company has done or they're selling it for other purposes. Substantial quantity of PVDF is also imported in India. And given the fact that 27 gigawatt hour is going to be demand for lithium-ion battery by 2024-25, as I said before, demand for this product is going to be 2650 ton by 2024-25. Along with the demand increase for the lithium-ion cell and production of lithium cell capacity, the demand for this is going to be there by 2030-35, the region, at least some 15 to 20,000 tons per annum. Now, the next product we go is graphite. As I told you, the analysis anode, there are two types of graphite. One is a synthetic graphite, other is the natural graphite. Here, India has an advantage, significant advantage. Synthetic graphite is produced by two companies, which I mentioned earlier, HEG Limited and Graphite India. Both of them are not making graphites good enough for use in the lithium-ion battery anode. Then the work company Epsilon in Bangalore, who claims that they produce the synthetic graphite from coal tar and their product can be used for the anode, lithium-ion anode. They have a capacity of 2,000 tons per annum. They are going to expand and they say they are exporting. It's a significant achievement of this country. We need to be applauded. Now, in the case of this natural graphite, India has an advantage because India has got a lot of deposits of natural graphite. For example, in Tamil Nadu, Sivaganga region has got a huge deposit of graphite. There is some Tamil Nadu mineral who is in charge of the graphite mining. Then there are a lot of other areas in the country where graphite is available. This graphite is all used for making graphite crucibles and other purposes. Now, nobody is producing graphite in India for use as an anode because the purity of the natural graphite has to be as much as 99.95%. Very, very high pure material. Obviously, the graphite ore has been taken, it has been purified. The technology parameters are well known, process is well developed. Somebody has to put up a small pilot plant and get the parameters optimized and go for the production of natural graphite, meeting the specification of the anode. In case we are going to do it, even if there is no consumption in India, the enormous export opportunities will open. Now, China is a leader again. I can't but mention it because that is a fact. China is a leader again, both in the synthetic graphite and high purity natural graphite. China has got a larger world share, but we can certainly compete with them because of natural graphite level. This is an attractive investment opportunity. As I said before, this is something which some entrepreneurs should start working on it from tomorrow. There's no need to delay this in any case. Don't worry about the Indian market. International market will open. And why are we not doing it? I have no answer. Now we go to the next product, lithium titanate. This is again a very recently developed product. Here again, very, very important key note is this lithium titanate does not use cobalt, does not use nickel, and does not use lithium. The only lithium that is being used. The big, tough product, there are all products being developed by the companies to meet the challenging situation that may arise in future due to the shortage of cobalt, where China is having a stranglehold, or possible shortage of nickel, lithium titanate. Here, the raw materials are lithium hydroxide, about which we discussed, and titanium dioxide, which India is already producing. Now, the total graphite anode, 96% of the lithium-ion battery producers use only graphite anode. On this 96%, 60% of lithium-ion battery producers are using natural graphite, 60%. That's a huge potential demand. And gradually, international lithium-ion battery producers are shifting the focus from natural synthetic graphite to natural graphite because price is cheaper. And they feel that for certain applications of the lithium-ion battery, This graphite is doing more than enough. Huge opportunity. We can't ignore this. Now, this LTO competes with the natural graphite as anode. Again, the 96% of the graphite being used by lithium-ion batteries around the world, 2.5% is used by the LTO. 96 plus 2.5. India is not producing. Very few companies are producing abroad. Given the fact that lithium-ion battery cell would be around 27 gigawatt, it will be power, however, it would be required by 2024-25. The demand for this could be 13,200 tons. I'm repeating repeatedly just to stress on the point that how important it is for India to proceed and how big is the demand potential in India and why we are not keeping silent on this. Given if the fact that the lithium-ion cell capacity production is going to go up in the coming years, this demand for the LTO, which is now fast catching the imagination of the lithium-ion producers around the world, it is going to triple or 4 times. Why are you not doing it? What is holding you? Nothing. We got titanium dioxide, lithium hydroxide can be brought, produced, or whatever the way we can source it. Now, we go to the next one, lithium hexafluorophosphate. This is an electrolyte. As I told you, in the lithium-ion battery, the electrolytes moves the ion from cathode to anode. It's a very, very important part. The quality of the electrolyte determines one of the factors determining the performance of the lithium-ion battery. Now here, most of the lithium-ion battery producers use lithium hexafluorophosphate as the electrolyte. There are other electrolytes also available. This is the most popular electrolyte. Now, what is the raw material for this? One is white or yellow phosphorus. We have available in India. Then chlorine, we have available in plenty. As a matter of fact, people are hunting for identifying the projects based on chlorine. Then anhydrous hydrogen fluoride. A lot of people are enough capacity there, including our own TANFAC in Tamil Nadu has got capacity for anhydrous hydrofluoride. And then lithium carbonate is a material about which I discussed. Why are you not producing it here? Nobody is producing this opportunity. Now, given this fact, again I am repeating, for 24, 25, 27 gigawatt hour of lithium-ion cell is required, demand is going to be 3,500 tons. The demand will go at least up to 10,000 or 50,000 tons in the next 15 or 20 years with the growth of the lithium-ion battery industry. Now we come to finally separator. Separator is nothing but a part of the lithium-ion battery where it prevents the physical contact between the anode and the cathode. And then it has a lot of micropores through which the ions selectively move from cathode to anode. This is a very, very important role to play. The raw material for this is basically where polyethylene and polypropylene we are producing in India. We are not producing this separator. If there is no demand in India, we can also produce separator and sell it away. Why are we not doing it? Now, these two materials, polyethylene, polypropylene, have to be taken together and coated. Certain suitable coatings are there. Now, the demand potential for this by 2024-25 is 490 million square meters according to our calculation. There is no substitute for this. Separator is an absolutely important part. In the case of cathode actives, I said there is a substitution possibility. Either you can use lithium iron phosphate or lithium nickel cobalt manganese oxide. I said in the case of the electrolyte, instead of hexafluoride, we can use some other material. In the case of separator, there is no substitution possibility. You have to use only this. 490 million square meter. In case we start producing this to cater the requirement of the international market, if not the international market, the whole polyethylene industry will take a huge upturn, which we are not doing this. So there are several obvious opportunities which are not being adequately paid attention, which are not being studied properly, which efforts have not been taken to put forth. Now, what is the international trend? Now, I've told about the electrodes. There are a number of lithium-ion cell producers themselves produce electrodes. A number of companies are there in Japan who produce only cathode electrode and anode electrode of various compositions, meeting the different specification requirements. And they are now selling around the world. Why not we do it? There are 2 electrode producers in India. Third one, of course, is started right now. Why not we strengthen it? Focus entirely on this material, electrode production, and sell it around the world. Japanese companies are doing it. When they are doing it, there is no problem why we should not do it. Because Japan is in a similar situation like India. Japan does not have lithium. Japan does not have nickel. Japan does not have cobalt. Japan does not have manganese also. When they don't have any of these materials, they are going in a big way to produce these. Why are you not doing it? This is the problem. So the whole objectives of this webinar right now is to create awareness about the huge investment opportunities in India for lithium, for specialty chemicals and components used in the lithium-ion battery. I have given a broad indication of the various factors. I have just given you a plethora of data. It's quite possible that you may not have been able to absorb the entire thing in one stroke. I fully appreciate this because I have taken around 3 months to study this for doing the webinar today. But you are just listening in 45 minutes or 40 minutes. So what I will offer to you is, any of these participants, people here sitting listening to the talk, if they think they would like to have this presentation, kindly email to Chemical Industry Association. We'll be very happy to send it to you free of charge with no obligations, so that if somebody sees this, somebody likes it, somebody takes a step forward, we'll be happy, the country will be happy. Thank you very much.
Okay. Start my video.
Yeah. Do you want to take the questions now and then I do the summing up, or you want me to do the summing up and then go for the questions? This is to Venkatraman.
I have no issue. I have no issue in taking the questions now, but the time limit has to be taken. I would suggest you sum it up, and probably you will be clarifying a lot of things during the summing up itself. And then if there are any questions, I will be pleased to answer.
Right, sir. Thank you very much. It's a very interesting presentation, as usual, by Mr. Swaminathan Venkatraman and Mr. Venkatraman. They have always been a great supporter of CIA and its activities and the chemical industries in particular. They have done a lot of studies in the past on various subjects, and I'm very happy to state that they have been a kind of a driver of chemical projects in India by inducing this demand by making such presentations. So as lithium ion batteries, you can see, is a very strategic importance to a country like India because we are a signatory to the emission protocols of intergovernment protocols and intergovernment panels. So we have a mandate to reduce our emissions. So electric vehicles is one of the ways to reduce these emissions. The presentation really talked about what is the driver for lithium-ion batteries globally, which is the electric vehicles, how the electric vehicle scenario has emerged in China and in other countries like US. We have seen how US, company like Tesla in the US have really grown phenomenally in the last few years, and there was a statement made that they have reached the landmark figure of 0.5 million cars in 2020. Then Mr. Swaminathan also talked about various types of drivers of electric vehicle demand and how exponentially it has been growing. The categories of vehicles, starting from cars to two-wheelers to three-wheelers and the heavy-duty trucks and buses. We have seen what kind of subsidies drive these demand, governmental subsidies like, energy reduction, target emissions reduction, and subsidies given to the manufacturers, charging infrastructure, subsidies for charging infrastructure, etc. And he was also very, has been beautifully explained that how China has done this in terms of how they develop the policies. And now one by one, we are also seeing how China is withdrawing some of the policies, probably, using it as a carrot, and then once the investors come and after a certain level of incubation has happened, they go back and withdraw the subsidies so that the manufacturers are able to battle the ground standalone without any subsidy. I would say that this market can be compared very similarly to the solar cell market. The similar systems and approaches have been made in the solar cell market. I was party to some of the earlier efforts in developing this market in terms of polysilicon. And I had an opportunity to see how this market evolved over a period of time. I think the way this market will evolve is very similar to solar cell market, where subsidies will drive initially, and then manufacturers will take over with technology to bring down the cost. There was a slide in which it was mentioned that the cost of making a battery now, lithium battery, has substantially come down with development in technology. Similar things actually happened. Similar process happened in the solar cell scenario, where the costs of solar powered energy came down from some 20 cents per kilowatt hour to less than 10 cents per kilowatt hour. I think it's around 8 or even 7 now. So then Mr. Swaminathan moved on to the various investment potentials for the materials that are used in the batteries. We have seen cathode materials, we have seen anodic materials, and then we have seen separator materials. He also discussed various raw materials available for each of these products that have been identified, including lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, the larger ones, and then the smaller ones like lithium hydrogen, lithium manganese, lithium cobalt, all kinds of combinations, and also some manufacturers and their efforts to bring these materials, commercialize these technologies like Exide, Monot, Sikri, and then ISRO and Per Energy. We also saw, he also mentioned beautifully about each type of chemical and what is the potential demand that you can expect in these products. We also saw the separator materials like polyethylene. I had worked a lot in the past in the separator materials, because when I was part of a company which made PVC resin for the separators for batteries, we were also seeing that people were working on the polyethylene separators. Polyethylene separator is not only used for the lithium cells, it's also used for the conventional lead acid battery. A huge volume of polyethylene separators are sold for conventional lead acid battery. They are called envelope type separators, where the electrode is immersed in an electrolyte and enveloped by the separator on both sides, where the separator acts like what is known as a porous non-conductor. It conducts ions, but it will not conduct electricity. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And also on the electrolyte material, a very interesting discussion on the electrolyte material, where lithium titanates can be used. India is producing titanium dioxide significantly. So if we have, if somebody can make the lithium titanates, India can become a global player in this the electrolyte production. Thank you very much overall for this excellent presentation, as usual, Mr. Swaminathan and Mr. Venkatraman. Thank you very much for your time and your effort to put together this presentation. Like everybody else, it was an eye-opener for me also, because although I was involved in some parts of these markets, I was not really aware of a lot of things that you made us aware of today. In fact, I also worked a little bit on the charging when I was in Cabot. I was working on the fast charging opportunities in the electrodes, and one of the things that Cabot used to make was the conductive carbon for which are all made in US, not at all made in India. Maybe some parts of Asia like Japan was being made at that time, and it is about 7 years back. So thank you very much, sir. With this, I hand over the floor to the formal vote of thanks by P.S. Venkatraman.
Good evening to all. Mr. P.S. Venkatraman, Secretary MIA, is to present a vote of thanks. Unfortunately, he was held up in some other meeting. He could not join us in this meeting. So I'm proposing the vote of thanks. First of all, I thank for the large numbers of the members who has joined for these meetings in spite of this working day and all these things. Say, I really thanks for the large members present in this meeting. Second, I thank for the guest speaker, Mr. N.S. Venkatraman, Director, Nandini Consultancy Services, and Mr. Swaminathan Venkatraman, Director, Nandini Consultancy Services, Singapore Private Limited, for their wonderful presentation of this important subject. Actually, our members should use this inputs to start planning for the production of some chemicals like lithium oxide or lithium carbonate, etc. This will give us an input for the other further chemicals. Then I thank Mr. V.T. Murthy, Chairman, ICC Southern Region, for introducing the speakers to the forum. Next, I thank Mr. S. Venkatraghavan, President, Tirumala Chemicals Limited, Ranipet, for wonderfully summing up the total presentation in short time. And I thank the sponsors of this program, Mrs. Ultramarine Pigments Limited, Ranipet. And further, finally, I thanks for the Chemical Industries Association organizing this seminar in association with ICC, MIA, IDMA, and Nandini Consultancy Service. Thank you one and all for this participating in this seminar. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think with this, we can sum up. Can we?
Is this presentation available in YouTube?
Yes, sir.
It is available on YouTube.
Is this presentation available in YouTube?
Yes, it is available on
Yes,
YouTube.
it is available.
It will be available, sir.
Yeah,
It's
because
recorded and it will be available.
many members said they were not able to get in due to some linkage problems. So can you give that linkage of the YouTube linkage so that I can circulate to all the people?
Okay, sir. Okay, we will do that, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Thank
can
you
we
very much. Yeah.
close this?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for participating.